The Galactic Federation Academy prided itself on cultural exchange programs. Few, however, were as notorious as the Warrior Culture Exchange. Designed to foster understanding between species, participants spent a week training with warriors from other worlds. When Cadet Tom Reed was selected as the human representative, Trainer Clix of the Vanthi species merely flickered his 6 eyes in mild concern. Humans were classified as Deathworlders, evolved on a planet with high-gravity toxic atmospheres and aggressive predators, but they seemed so soft. "You understand the requirements?" Clix asked, mandibles clicking. "You'll train with 5 warrior cultures, 1 each day. The final 2 days are for recovery and reflection." Tom nodded, his stocky frame looking almost comically small next to the towering insectoid. "I understand, sir." "Excellent. Begin tomorrow with the Dracs. Their combat rituals are intense." What Clix didn't mention was that no Deathworlder had ever completed the full program. The exchange was a polite way of reminding the newer species of their place in the galactic hierarchy. The observation deck filled with trainers from various species the next morning. Below, Tom stepped onto the training ground where 3 Drax warriors awaited. They resembled humanoid lizards, with scales that shimmered between green and blue under the artificial lights. Their muscle definition was impressive, even by human standards. "Begin," announced the Drax leader, a scarred veteran named Grax. The ensuing combat was brutal. The Drax moved with shocking speed, their clawed hands aiming for vulnerable points. Tom, however, did not yield. He took impacts that would have crippled most species, got up again, and eventually learned to anticipate their movements. By the end of the day, Tom stood panting but unbroken. The Drax bowed with newfound respect. "He adapted," muttered Trainer Vix, a feathered plumerian. "Unusual," Clix simply nodded. "Tomorrow will be different." The second day brought the Molu, a species of silicon-based life forms that fought by projecting crushing gravitational fields. Most trainees surrendered within minutes, their bodies unable to function under such pressure. Tom entered the chamber, listened to the brief explanation of rules, and then shocked everyone by immediately dropping to a push-up position when the gravity increased. "What is he doing?" asked Trainer Zoot, a gelatinous being from the methane seas of Proxima. "Exercising," Clix replied, bewildered. For 6 hours, as the gravity slowly increased, Tom performed various exercises, occasionally pausing to drink water. The Molu trainers exchanged confused glances. By the session's end, Tom had adapted to gravity 3 times that of Earth's, something no previous trainee had managed. On the 3rd day, the Void Monks of Terral awaited. These beings, composed partly of dark matter, specialized in psychological warfare. They entered Tom's mind, projecting his deepest fears. The observation deck screens showed Tom facing a horrific landscape of Earth destroyed, his loved ones suffering. The trainers watched uncomfortably as Tom closed his eyes, steadied his breathing, and began to push back against the mental assault. "He's rejecting the fear," Trainer Afera whispered. "Humans call it compartmentalizing," Clix replied, now genuinely concerned. By the end of the session, the Void Monks emerged from their trance with expressions of disquiet. "The human's mind," their leader reported, "contains natural barriers we've never encountered. They live with fear constantly, yet function regardless." Day 4 brought the Shimmer Collective, beings of pure energy who fought by rapidly shifting between plasma and solid states. Their combat style revolved around unpredictability and overwhelming opponents with light and heat. Tom entered wearing only standard exercise clothing, no protective gear. "He'll be burned within seconds," Vix predicted. But Tom surprised them, again. He closed his eyes, relying on other senses, feeling air currents, listening for subtle shifts. When the Shimmers attacked, he dodged with uncanny precision, his movements becoming more fluid with each exchange. "He's learning their patterns," Zoot observed with alarm. By session's end, Tom had managed to counter several attacks, something considered impossible for solid-based life forms. The 5th day arrived and tension filled the observation deck. The final challenge, the Krell, ancient arthropods whose exoskeletons could withstand spacecraft impacts. Their fighting style relied on overwhelming force. Tom entered the arena looking exhausted but determined. The match began, and immediately, a Krell warrior charged. What happened next sent ripples of shock through the observation deck. Tom didn't dodge. He met the charge directly, using the Krell's momentum against it in a technique he'd learned from the Drax. As the creature stumbled, Tom pressed forward with gravity-strengthened strikes learned from the Molu. "He's combining techniques," Click stated, mandibles clicking rapidly in distress. When the Krell surrounded him, Tom closed his eyes briefly, a technique from the Void Monks, before moving with shimmer-like unpredictability between opponents. The match ended with Tom standing, bloody but unbowed, having earned a draw against opponents 10 times his strength. The 6th day was meant for recovery, but Tom appeared at the training grounds anyway. The observation deck, now crowded with administrative staff and curious onlookers, watched as he practiced every technique he'd learned. "This is unprecedented," Academy Director Jorks announced. "A Deathworlder not only surviving but adapting to all 5 warrior cultures." Clicks nodded gravely. "The human doesn't just learn techniques, he integrates them, creates something new." On the 7th day, Tom delivered his reflection. Standing before the Academy Council, he bowed respectfully. "I thank the Federation for this opportunity. On Earth, we have a saying, adapt or die. It's not just our motto, it's how we evolved. Every warrior culture this week taught me something valuable, and I'm honored to have trained with them." After Tom left, panic truly set in among the trainers. Director Jorks called an emergency meeting. "We face a situation we never anticipated," he began. "Humans don't just survive hardship, they thrive on it. They take what challenges them and make it their own." Click stepped forward. "I recommend classifying these findings. If humans can adapt this quickly to different combat styles, then what might they become with prolonged exposure to advanced warrior cultures?" Vix finished. The room fell silent, each being contemplating the implications of a species that treated the galaxy's most brutal training program as an opportunity for growth. In his quarters, Tom Reed smiled as he packed his bag, unaware of the storm he'd created. He was simply looking forward to sharing what he'd learned with his fellow human cadets.